Alright folks, welcome back to the shop today. What I have here for you is the Ruger PC Carbine in 9mm. I'm going to show you a few things about the gun. Some things that I've noticed that I think may be a QC thing with Ruger. This gun basically came straight out of the box to me unfired by the customer. Wanted the mag well swapped out, which I'll show you how to do here in a second. They're really easy. This gun is kind of an updated version of the police carbine that Ruger used to make. I think they ended it in like 2007 or something like that. There was not a whole lot of demand for it. But this kind of came back into play as pistol caliber carbines came back in, are becoming increasingly more popular. This is a takedown model, ghost ring sights on it. They make this in 9mm and 40. It would be really, really slick to see one in both 45 and 10mm. So, without any further ado, we're going to start the takedown process. I will get through just about everything, but we'll go through that here. Like most takedown models, typically the bolts have to be brought back to the rear. It is similar as a 1022 as far as functionality. Safety and trigger and the feel is very 1022-esque, but outside of that, the gun really isn't all that similar to the 1022. Pull the bolt back and push the little bolt stop there, hold it open. You've got this little lever underneath here. Pull that, twist, pull out. It's just got a little detent there that rides in that track. Like I said, it's got the ghost ring sights. They work pretty well out of the factory. I went and shot this thing at 30 yards or so. It was shooting right and high a little bit. I thought it was me, but I'll let somebody else shoot it as well and experience the same kind of deal. There's a single screw at the bottom here. Not Torx, but hex, like Allen screw. Comes off to get this fore end off of there. Fore end's pretty straightforward. There's nothing real special about it. It comes off. Injection molded plastic. It looks like the read instruction before using firearm garbage. At least it's on this and not the actual gun itself, which is really nice. Front sling swivel. It's got a little Picatinny rail up here. I'd imagine for light laser, whatever combination of garbage you want to put in the front of your gun. There's also a threaded muzzle, which is half 28 in the 9mm configuration. No big deal there. Pretty nice. The gun is heavy overall too. Just kind of a side note there. The overall weight of this is a lot heavier than it would appear on the surface. This little doodad actually comes out a lot easier you think if you just pull that, hold that back, and unscrew. Let's see. Come on. Actually, I don't believe it unscrews. I believe that just pulls out, if I remember correctly. Yeah, you got to pull out. It doesn't unscrew, but it just pulls out. It's detented in. And that'll come out in the little spring follower, which rides in there. And that's what detents that little bastard. That little guy right there. So, like that, that's all there is to that. This steel block is held in on this barrel with 2 more Allen screws, which is also the device. This is the barrel tension nut. See, when you click in, you can actually tighten it up so it's got a real good tight fit. Do it when it's locked in. I'll show you that on the reassembly there. But that's really all there is to this guy. Nothing super special. I'm gonna set this stuff aside here. Now, this thing is pretty much the same thing. There's nothing special on the other end. This is just fancy molding. I think you can do spacers, so length of pull is a little adjustable via spacer. Molded in sling swivel stud here. It does have a your magazine release. Can be swapped. It is an ambi option. It can be kind of stubborn when it wants to come out of this, but you don't have to hit it too hard, but it'll pop right out of there. Same thing here. This whole thing is pretty well just injection molded. These screws are retained on both the fore end and the stock. You don't have to pull them all the way out to get the thing to come apart. The mag wells, this one here is actually the Glock mag. I think you can see that there where it says G9 is a Glock 9mm mag well on it. They come out literally once you got the action out of the gun, push your mag release, and they come right out. And you can swap it out. This one had the factory Ruger SR9 mag well in there, and then the customer, I believe he bought the Glock 9mm to go along with his pistol and had me swap those out. But that's all there is to that. If you want to swap the magazine release on this, I actually like it left-handed, you know, being a right-handed shooter, because I can reach up and just hit it with my thumb, pull the magazine out, and insert a new one. It's where, you know, hitting it backwards on this side is a little goofy, but if you're a left-handed shooter, you kind of want to do the same thing. But the Allen screw just comes out of there. You separate the two pieces and just turn everything around. It's really simple. Put that aside. This little guy is your bolt open, hold open actually, is what actually, when you hit that little lever, and this bolt comes to the rear and you push it up, that's what engages that. Trigger group comes out pretty well the same. Just two pins that typically just push right out. These didn't give me any trouble. This is the first one I've ever gotten my paws on. I'm not some kind of super expert yet, but the trigger group comes out real easy. Bolt handle comes out. It unscrews actually. Instead of just sliding out in some sort of detent, it's got an Allen head screw, which is the same as the stock and fore end. Just comes out. The bolt, before you can take the bolt out, you've got to take these screws out of it here. There's 3 Allen head screws, and I haven't bothered to call Ruger yet. I'm not 100% certain, but it's missing a screw, and that came out of the, basically it was out of the box like that. Nobody had messed with it, so I need to get a hold of Ruger and find out if that's a normal thing, like they purposely did that, but I don't see why, other than the way it fits into the stock. But neither screw is exposed on either side, so I think this one was missing one. I think that's pretty shit on the Ruger's QC quality control side. But we'll get that figured out. These just come out, and this is the kind of the barrel locking block. This is what the barrel cams into here, and ultimately creates the piece that the bolt smashes into, because this is a basic blowback gun. There's nothing fancy going on in here. Some are saying that it does have kind of a locking bar type thing that will allow it to it stops it from, so like if you drop the gun, the bolt doesn't just bounce back and come out of battery and do something goofy. But anyways, that block, once you have those, what I'm assuming is supposed to be 3 screws, this one only had 2. This just slides out, and once you have that out, you can take your bolt, and it's a little tight, but you can lift it out, kind of wiggle it, and that's let me put a caveat. When you do that, do it upside down. I kind of forgot on this one here, but these little 2 guys here, I'll show you here in a second exactly how they work. But that's all there is to that receiver. That is the serialized portion of the gun there. This guy here is literally just a matter of pushing the pin out. There's nothing, it just all but falls out, no big deal. And there's a little coil spring inside of there little fancy gizmo. Pretty simple, and that's all there is to that machine block. But that is what the barrel cams into there and locks up, and then creates the breech face up here, and this is kind of what the bolt bashes into. So let's see here. The bolt itself is pretty simple. This slides out. You can see that it's got little nubs on it there that ride in a broached pathway in the bolt itself. So it's keyed in there like that, and it keeps it from just falling out. This on this in here, I'm not gonna. It's a pretty stout spring, and I don't feel like screwing it. Whatever. This little buffer pad back here, just kind of push down on that spring, and you can pull that little retainer clip, your buffer pad there, and then the spring comes, and then your operating recoil rod, whatever you want to call that, comes out of there. This thing has a really stout weight in it. That weight's actually made out of tungsten, as far as I know, or to my understanding, that is a tungsten. Couldn't remember how that came out. This bolt face here is how they're changing calibers on these bolts. Is this whole bolt face actually just comes right out of the gun. But to do that, we have to remove the extractor first, which is this pin here. You come at it from underneath there. You see that? And put your thumb over the extractor and push that little guy out of there. That pin came out. Your extractor and its spring will come out. And then you can take these two little pins out. You got to push into the bolt face a little bit, and they'll literally just fall out. They've tried to do it several times, and anyway, those little guys come out, and then your bolt face comes out, and that is your that's kind of what changes caliber. So theoretically, what I'm believing is that all you would have to do is change your extractor and your bolt face, and then get a new mag well, and now you've got a 40 caliber gun. Firing pin is sprunged, and it comes out the front just like so. And then the only thing left is this big tungsten weight, and this is a heavy bastard, man. It's real heavy, and that's almost as heavy as the whole rest of this bolt is. But that's I think that's how they're adjusting for recoil and stuff between the 40s and 9mm, because this one has a whole bunch of holes drilled into it, and I've not seen the 40 caliber yet, so maybe it doesn't have all this mass removed from it. I mean, that seems like it'd be quite a bit of tungsten to make up for the weight difference. But that is definitely a lot of mass. They're super simple as far as the bolt and all that is concerned. I didn't get a chance to really research anything on this thing. I just started taking it apart and trying to figure it out. I had to clean it anyways for the guy. He wanted it cleaned, and so I did. This is only like the second or third time I've actually taken the thing apart, so we're kind of learning together, I guess. The next piece here will be the trigger group. It's relatively easy. It's like any of the other things, though. You really got to avoid sending shit into outer space. Put it on fire. I'll pull the trigger, take the tension off the hammer. Once the tension's off the hammer, you can reach in there and grab your hammer strut and its spring. It is a captured spring on that little C-clip there. Again, I'm not taking this apart. This one's really tough to get back on, so I'm not doing that. You can see how it goes back together. It's not complicated. It's just a pain in the ass. There's this pinhole here. These two pinholes is where we knocked it out of the receiver. But this pin, all these should just slide right out. If you're having to force it, something else is wrong. But there's your hammer. Super simple. Probably a MEMS part. Yeah, definitely a MEMS part. what else we got going on here? Easy stuff. If you take this pin here is what holds your bolt lock up. It's what pushes that arm up to lock the bolt back. You can take it and actually don't have to push it all the way out. You can just push it out just a little bit, and that bolt stop or bolt lock, whatever you want to call it, and its spring can come right out without any issue. Your trigger itself is where we're going to get tricky with some of this stuff. It's not that it's hard to get out. The return spring is this plunger and spring behind it is what gives it return pressure. So you have to be mindful of that when you go to poke this pin out. Let that pin fall out and use your punch to retain it, and then try and hold on to it the best you can, and then ease it out. Let this come out the top here, and then your spring and plunger come out the bottom like that. There is your disconnector and your sear on the trigger here. They do, and a little smaller punch here. Punch out just like you'd think. It's just that one pin holds that in, and that spring rides into the two little cups. I think you can see there that are drilled into the pieces. That just pops right out. And your pin, your trigger. I'm gonna pull this the rest of the way out to you. Here's one that gets interesting, is the way the safety comes out. That if you take it, let's see, if you come halfway or full, no, it's halfway, kind of halfway between safe and halfway between fire, you rotate that safety out just about quarter of a turn, if that, and now you can push it through left to right, right to left. I don't think it really matters. I will say this: put your hand over all of this when you're pulling this out of here, because the detent spring that's under here and the detent will go into orbit. I spent about 30 minutes looking for this one on the floor the first time I took it apart. So there it goes. And if you hear it pop, but that's the two little grooves that thing rides in. Yeah, those little guys right there, man. Never thought I was gonna find them. But that's it. That's everything out of the trigger group. Again, just the little red thing showing it's on fire, and then the two little grooves cut into it. That's the detents themselves, and then this big flat on the other side is actually what blocks the trigger. So when it's on fire, the trigger can move. Let's see, the trigger. Where's it sitting there? What does it block? I think it actually blocks the sear itself. Excuse me. Because that sear is what allows it to ride in it while it's on fire, and then when it's unsafe, the sear hits it here. Yeah, that's right. Because the sear rides in here. We're gonna learn together. Gonna learn today. Yeah, that's how it works. So turn it, and you can see in there where that sear rides in the context of the safety. Anyways, it's irrelevant. That's how shit works, yo. That's as disassembled as anybody ever needs to go with. They're not complicated. You can see that they are different than the 1022s. I mean, they have a lot of similarities, but they're not identical. It's not just a big ass 1022, excuse me. So thanks for watching. you got any questions, comments, concerns, really, this is my first time dicking with this gun. So if I miss something, y'all can put down in there and educate the rest of us. That'd be really cool. I'm by no means a PC Carbine fucking expert. I don't even know if there's, I'm sure there is fucking trigger groups and all kinds of bullshit out there for these things already. And like I said, they're a lot heavier than they look. I can't. There's a lot of lever guns out there, man, that are much lighter than this, that pack a whole lot more punch. Yeah, you can get big 32 round sticks to stick in this thing with a 9mm, but whatever. That's unrealistic. That's about as realistic as carrying around one in your regular duty gun. It's all right. I shot it. It's an all right gun. I don't have any bones against it. I can say, like I said, though, this whole bullshit here, I'm pretty sure this was just a QC thing. I don't think there was ever a screw in there, because the guy took it out of the box and brought it straight to me and then had me do the work. Pretty good customer of mine. You know, it's kind of, everybody lies, you know, oh, my buddy screwed with it and whatever else, or I loaned it out and I got it back all messed up, and it's never the customer's fault, you know, it's always somebody else's, and that's, yeah, you know, you got to take it with a grain of salt. But my understanding is that it came straight out of the box and straight to me. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Give me a like, share, subscribe, the thumbs up thing. Yeah.